Well, hello, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us on the Author Revolution podcast today. I am super excited that you're here. And I was just wondering, do you want to take a moment to tell my audience a little bit about who you are and what it is you do and why they should be paying attention to what you're going to tell us today?
Yes, of course. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah.
So my name is Ryan. I'm the founder of booksweeps.com, which is a lead generation site for authors. And I'm also the co-founder of Plottr, which is a visual outlining software for writers. And I'm really excited to be talking to you about that today.
That is so fantastic. I did not know a whole lot about the whole book sweeps thing. So you're going to have to fill me in a little bit on that as well, because I'm like, wait a minute, what happened here? What's going on? So before we get into the Plottr stuff, which is what we're going to be talking about today mostly, explain that whole situation. How did that get started? And what can authors dig into when it comes to that?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been working with authors for about 7, 8 years at this point. So BookSoups is a platform for authors to primarily grow their email list and book club following through multi-author giveaways that we put together. So basically, we put together giveaways on a weekly basis that you can find on the website, where we bring together authors in specific genres and subgenres. So cozy mystery, urban fantasy, YA, young adult, etc., romance, runs the gamut of genres in the fiction realm. We provide social media templates, graphics, and then we share the contest with our audience. So we have an audience of over 100,000 readers on our email list.
That's amazing.
So they come basically to a landing page on our website where they can then enter their information and like choose the authors whose newsletters they want to sign up for. And it's all GDPR compliant. There are like multiple confirmation steps. Nobody is getting confused about what they're signing up for.
Right.
So we've been doing that since I've been running that since 2016.
Okay.
So yeah, we've worked with over 5,000, close to 6,000 authors at this point.
What got you interested in starting it in that particular aspect? Did you find it was hard for you? Like, are you writing? I'm assuming that you're a writer as well. So were you finding it was hard to get people onto your list, and so therefore you're like, hey, I'm going to create this thing? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, this started before I had really an interest in writing professionally. So I was an intern I interned at literary agencies in Manhattan for a number of years after I graduated college. So the last place I interned at was Writer's House, which is a major literary agency that represent people like Neil Gaiman, Twilight, Nora Roberts. So they have a lot of high-powered authors, and I was their like first ever digital marketing intern. I created the position there actually. I was like, I can't look at another terrible manuscript. I can't.
I love it.
I can't do this. I was like, I want to be in I had some marketing jobs on the side I was doing like at the same time. I was like, I want to stay in the book world, but I cannot possibly put red pen to another terrible manuscript that's going nowhere. It just feels like a waste of time for everyone. So,
sure.
So that kind of, they started referring me clients basically. And kind of one thing led to another. I was working with these New York Times bestselling romance authors who were interested in figuring out ways to grow their email list. And I was like, well, you guys all have audiences. Why don't we kind of let each other's audiences know about the other people, basically, right? It seems pretty intuitive.
Yep.
So that's basically the premise behind the multi-author giveaway is that, folks who have an audience get, introduced to other people and vice versa. So it worked really well. And it just kind of, I started running them at the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. Then it turned into a full-fledged business, which is BookSweeps around the summer of 2016. And been going strong since.
That's amazing. That is really there's so many things that are going on in my brain right now. I have a friend who is an incredible email marketer. So we've talked a lot about email marketing and how important it is. And Derek, oh my God, I just spaced out his last name. Derek Depker? There we go. Derek Depker is running his email challenge right now. And I'm kind of in the background checking those videos out. They're kind of long, so I'll watch them when I get time. I'm not active in the actual challenge as much as I probably should be at this particular moment. But it's really fascinating because I see a lot of authors right now really trying to get their hands around email marketing and trying to figure out how do they grow this list. and make things, even better. Obviously the writing aspect of it is pretty important as well, but being able to figure out how to tap into their readers is super huge. So that is really awesome. I did not know that. I've even learned something new here today.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. Well, let's also talk about Plottr, because that's one of the big things. And I know my audience is really excited to be able to hear more about Plottr and what it is that you do and how that story came about. So before we talk about like who should be using Plottr and all that, tell me a little bit about how that concept then came about after book sweeps and then moved into Plottr, and how that whole thing, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So I should be clear, like I'm not the original creator of Plottr. So Plottr has been around since 2017 in some form.
Okay.
It was created by my partner, Cameron. His name is Cameron Sutter. I found out about Plottr around the end of 2019. Actually, somebody posted about it in a Facebook group somewhere. And I was like, oh, this looks really interesting. I've never heard of this. I'm not sure why. It seems pretty cool. And I'm like a aspiring author myself, and I still haven't started something because I feel overwhelmed, but like being involved with Plottr has really helped, but I'll get to that. But yeah, so I saw this post. I was like, this is really cool. I'm interested. So I reached out to him. I literally went like next minute, I went to his website. He had a live chat. So I sent him a message. It was like, I run book sweeps. I think we could partner and help, work with each other. And he was like, cool. And one thing led to another. Now, a couple months later, I was a partner on the business. So it's kind of crazy. Just send someone an email and it turns into a whole opportunity.
Right? Isn't that, I think that's so powerful too, when you think about it, for anybody who's listening. I mean, really, honestly, authors, this works for them just in normal life too.
Yeah.
If you partner, if you want, let's say, to tap into someone else's email list, you could do something like book sweeps, or you could just say, hey, look, I'd love to co-write. And who knows, it might end up being that they're like, hey, you know what? Sure, why not? Let's give it a try. And it's just an email, reach out.
Yeah, you never know who people know, right? It's like, well, maybe I'm not the co-writer for you, but hey, my friend is James Patterson. So have you ever heard him?
Yeah, right. I love that so much. And they'll be like, no, who is that guy? Oh, to be in that world. They must be under a rock if they think that. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that so much. It's so cool to see how those connections can be built and how they manifest into something so powerful, just so simply. Okay, so obviously Plottr then has evolved. So explain where it's come from, where you started when you came in at that point to where it is now.
Yeah, I mean, so I should just explain. Cameron is an author himself. So, he was a YA indie author trying to figure out how to outline. He was using like Scrivener and other tools that just weren't quite working for his process. So he built this basically as a tool for himself, and it just kind of grew. So that was that's why it exists. But in terms of like who should be using it and what it is, I mean, so like I said, it's a visual outlining software for writers. It's kind of built off of the index card model at its core. We can think about like index cards on a wall or on a board and moving them around by hand. And so basically Cameron, the basic idea behind Plottr is basically taking that concept and turning it into a digital product where you can drag and drop the cards around, without worrying about your kids scribbling all over them or.
Or them getting stuck to your shoe and walking out the door, or God knows what else.
Exactly.
I totally get that. I love that there's so many different templates too in there. I mean, one of the things that I was really fascinated with when I first started was all the different ways that you've already kind of made it easy for authors to come in and try to like see what type of template works in their brains.
Yeah. So we have templates for all different kinds of genres. From we have romance templates, which is we have a romance template for Gwen Hayes called Romancing the Beat, which is really popular. We have general templates for general structure like a hero's journey, that kind of thing. You
even have like Save the Cat in there, the snowflake method. I know a friend of mine is really interested in the snowflake method that you've got posted in there. He's actually looking into that right now because it works best in his brain. And I have other friends who love the Save the Cat aspects of it. So it's so cool how many different types that you have in there. I myself like to use the 3-act structure. So I have a tendency to kind of veer more towards those.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like the 12 chapter mystery outline. We have just trying to taking a look. We even have one for we have one for manga, which I think is hilarious.
That's amazing.
Pretty awesome. So I mean, it kind of, there are templates for kind of we're working on adding more. We're planning on adding one for cozy mystery in the near future, for example. But
that will be huge.
We're always looking for new templates, and we're always, adding new ones or trying to add new ones. It can be complicated based on who owns the template in some cases, but
sure. Especially if it's, James Patterson, for instance. Not that he writes cozy mysteries, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Although that would be quite the advertisement. We have James Patterson's outlining style in here. Come get it. Everybody like, what? Oh, right. So obviously this is such a unique and different concept. So if someone's new to Plottr or new to the concept of Plottr, where's a good entry point for them to start? Like, should they just go to the website? Is there some sort of course that they can check out? Is there a YouTube channel? Where would you recommend people, if they want to like really kind of see from the, I guess, outset, how does it work and whether or not it is something that would work in their brain?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend check out the free trial first. We have training sessions also every other week. So if you sign up for the email list, you'll get an email about signing up for a training session, and then you can, hear about, literally you can ask questions of one of our moderators and see how the product works. We also have a video course where you can review how the product works. We have a Facebook group where you can ask questions. And I think the other thing is are you new to Plottr or are you new to plotting?
Yes.
If you're new,
which I think a lot of authors are.
Yeah, I think exactly.
Yeah.
If you're new to plotting, I would definitely try the templates. Like once you've start there. I've learned a lot just going over the templates myself, and I think pattern recognition is huge. You start noticing things because a lot of these templates are kind of rehashing the same idea, I think, and they're just kind of saying the same thing in different ways. Yep. The impression I get a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I think it's really valuable to be able to go in there and see how different people are managing that data, and like you said, the pattern recognition, because sometimes it just takes that one phrase being shifted just a little bit, and all of a sudden all those different versions that you've just looked at clicks. It's like that one little thing just needs to fall into place, and you're like, aha, I get it now. I get it.
It was like the other day I was like, oh, I realized what the point of a subplot is. I was like, I get why, that's how that works into the overall structure of the story and why you would have that from a character development perspective. I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense now. I was doing something the other day. I was like, oh yeah. So just the more you spend time with it, something like this, the more things start to click.
Absolutely. It's like that learning spiral where it's like you start at the bottom, but it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and you just learn it with more depth. It's just kind of crazy the way that it works that way. You kind of keep coming back and forth to it. Okay, so in my course, which is really kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you, because it was such a unique thing, I teach my students how to use Plottr as kind of like a Gantt chart for tracking their releases, because I'm teaching them to do 4 different release strategies every year. So 4 different books every year using a series. And I was struggling at the time to find a Gantt chart that was either readily available where you didn't have to pay for it in addition to something you already own, or it was just like without using Excel, because Excel or a Google spreadsheet is just a pain in the butt to try to move things around. And I was kind of playing around in Plottr, and I realized, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I labeled, if I ran these 4 different books, and then rather than chapters, I put them all as the months of the year. Right. This is a Gantt chart. I can make my students use something that they're probably already going to use, or if they're not using it, I'm going to recommend they use it to get this thing going. And so have you ever seen it also used in ways like that? Or are people mostly just using it for plotting their books?
I have one really good example of this actually. So we recently interviewed Victoria L.K. Williams, she's a cozy mystery author, and she created like a 2021 goals Plottr
Nice.
file, and so like her headings are general goals, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and then she has like timeline or plot lines for like personal life, botanical things she's doing, writing, editing, marketing. So she's like tracking these, and then she has the months actually as stacks, like a scene stack. So like first quarter is the heading for the chapter,
Okay.
and then there are like stacks of scenes. So January, February, March
Nice.
underneath that. So yeah, with that's one of the only or few examples I've seen, but that is it's a cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I use it where it's like book one, book two, book three, book four, and then I have a line for promotions. So any kind of advertising promotion that's going to be coming up, because it's not always tied to the book that you're writing. Especially when it's this particular year. If that book's not written, it's not out yet, you're not going to be advertising it necessarily, although you could have advertising tasks associated with it. But if you have a backlist, you've got promotions and things that you should probably be keeping track of in February. And so I have that fifth line where I'm trying to keep track of, okay, what kind of promotions are also happening, where I can just
Right.
really quickly and easily go to this one simple place. And
Yeah.
I'm already in it anyway because I'm obviously writing my books. So it's like we may as well just pull up one more of those files and here we go.
Yeah.
So
That's smart.
yeah, it's really cool. And I love the fact that I was able to like get everything in the same place. And seriously, last year when I was trying to get this course organized, like, why are Gantt charts so hard to find? And I was just so happy when that clicked into place. I don't even know what I was doing or why I did it or what I was fiddling around with. And all of a sudden it just clicked and I'm like, aha,
Do
yes.
you like the other elements of like when you're creating a Gantt chart? Do you use like the character and places and other like do you use any of the other elements of Plottr with that or?
I do sometimes. Yeah. It depends on the type of goal. So if there's something inside of the book itself that is, because I break them out into 4 different phases where it's the plan phase, write, publish and promote. And so if there's something in specific that I'm trying to keep track of for a
Mhm.
specific book or for a specific series, I will use those in place of characters or whatever the case might be.
Right.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head because my brain just went blank, but I do that. And
Mhm.
then when I'm obviously plotting out my books, I use that all the time because I want to keep track of what's happening throughout the series. So
Right,
all
right.
that stuff. Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted to like people should also just be aware that you can track your characters and places in here also. I don't think I mentioned that, but that is also part of what Plottr helps you do. And then you can integrate those into your scene cards so you can then, see them or see, which cards are attached to which characters or places and that kind of thing. Uh,
I
so
think that's really helpful too, because if you're going, okay, when was last time I brought this side character in? And it's like, I have no idea without doing a big, massive search of my manuscript. It's really
yeah,
helpful to be able to just really quickly and easy see where everything is laid out at. I like that a lot. Okay, so if anyone is obviously interested in checking out Plottr or interested in checking out Book Sweeps or chatting with you guys about the program or anything that you guys are doing, where's the best place for them to be able to come and find you?
yeah. So if you're interested in Plottr, definitely come to the website, plottr.com, Plottr.com. And Book Sweeps is also booksweeps.com, book, B-O-O-K, and then sweeps like chimney sweeps, SWEEPS.com. So yeah, to definitely check out those websites. And if you have any questions, there are support lines where people can reach out and we're glad to help you out.
That's awesome. Well, is there anything else that you can think of that my audience should know about Plottr or about Book Sweeps that you want to be able to relate to them before we head out for the day?
Let's see. Um, I'm always terrible at this question.
I should have probably put it on the list of questions so you were
What
aware
about
of it because I
yeah.
just thought of it now. I love putting people on the spot. It's my evil superpower.
What should you know? Um, I don't know. Is there anything else you think people should know about Plottr?
Oh man, throw it back at me. I see how you are. That's mean. I think that honestly, it's really that if you are new to plotting, that this is such a great program to be able to check out. I personally started as a pantser. So, I mean, I've been writing since 2010.
Mhm.
And my first book, even though I had a fun time writing it, even though I think the story ultimately came out okay, I remember getting to the end of it and going, I don't even know if I did it right. You know, like, is there a storyline in there? I'm not even sure. And so after that point, the next books from that point forward, I made sure to kind of at least have a skeletal outline and kind of give myself some sort of mindset to organize my thoughts about the book. And now being able to dig into Plottr and being able to use it as a guide, it's just much more of a concrete way. Because originally I was using Excel. So I was literally, breaking out the 3 acts, just putting in a few things about what I thought in each scene or each act would go in there, and moved on. But this is so much more engrossing. You're able to get a lot more detail in there. And you could get as in depth as you want with your chapters, and every little bit of information you want to put in there, you can track it all in there. It's amazing. So, and it does, like you said, all the different things that Scrivener also does, but does it in a way that is not as confusing or as cumbersome, I think. So for authors who are new to plotting and wanting to just kind of wrap their heads around it a little bit, having those templates and then having all that bonus information kept in one location, especially if they're writing a series, is, I think, in my opinion, super beneficial.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
You're like, it's too early in the morning here.
You did a better job answering that question than I could have possibly done. So thank you.
You need more coffee, man. Come on. Oh, funny. Well, that's just my 2 cents. It's the way I work with it. And I'm so happy to have found a program that actually does work with the way that my brain works, because I'll tell you what, Excel, my best friend originally, when she wanted me to keep track of my stuff, she was the one that nudged me into writing in the first place. She's a complete type A, use Excel spreadsheet with formulas and everything kind of person. And she was like, you need to keep track of this stuff in Excel. And it was like, my brain did not compute with that at all. No. And I'm an organized person, but not, not like that.
There's still a lot of people, I think, even like, there's still a lot of people right now who recommend that as a strategy, who, they sell products based off of their spreadsheet templates and that kind of thing, which is interesting.
My brain just does not, I don't know. I think I'm too visual of a person. I grew up with an artist for a mother or a mother who is an artist, I guess, whatever, however she identifies herself. And so for me, it was like just having visual aspects is very, very much a way of the process that I learn. So right. I like it so much. And it's like you said, being able to easily drag and drop and move things around quickly is so nice. And especially if you are planning your releases or your strategy for the year, or however you want to break it down and use it in ways probably you guys didn't necessarily intend for it to be used.
Yeah. The fun thing about the Facebook group, honestly, is we get people posting, like, oftentimes they all these crazy ways that they're using Plottr. Like, okay, that's cool. Like someone uses it for a grocery list, people use it for all kinds of things. So
hey man, it works. If you don't have to pay for another app and you're using it already and it's getting like your brain working and organized, go for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Plot away.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Ryan, and participating in this crazy conversation about plotting and making sure that people know how to use tools like Plottr. And then obviously, if they're going to try to get their words out and get known, they need to be using book sweeps as well. So this is an incredible opportunity for them to be able to listen to you. And I'm so glad that you were able to join us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Carissa. Thanks for having me.